Have you ever felt completely sure about someone's loyalty, only to realize later you were dead wrong? What if that sting of betrayal isn't the exception, but the rule? And what if the real lie isn't the betrayal itself, but the stories we tell ourselves about how loyalty should work? Thucydides, an ancient historian who chronicled the brutal Peloponnesian War, saw something most of us miss. Betrayal isn't some rare, shocking event. It's baked into the way power, fear, and human nature interact. His core idea is simple but unsettling. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. In other words, when survival or advantage is on the line, loyalty often takes a back seat. You probably recognize that stubborn feeling of being right when someone lets you down. The disbelief, the anger, the how could they? But Thucydides would ask a different question. Why wouldn't they? Think about the last time you realized a childhood belief wasn't quite true. Maybe you trusted a friend implicitly, only to find out they'd been talking behind your back. Or maybe you believed hard work alone would guarantee fairness, only to watch someone less deserving get ahead. That gap between what we want to be true and what is true is where Thucydides' insight hits hardest. Many of us cling to familiar ideas about loyalty because they make the world feel safer, more predictable. But deep down, you've probably noticed the cracks. The coworker who takes credit for your idea. The family member who conveniently forgets promises when it suits them. Even nations that break treaties when the balance of power shifts. Here's the uncomfortable part. We're all capable of it. Ever downplayed someone else's contribution to make yourself look better? Or stayed quiet when speaking up would have cost you something? Those small betrayals aren't just random. They're proof of the same forces Thucydides described. Fear, self-interest, and the hunger for security drive our actions more than we like to admit. And when we ignore that, we set ourselves up for shock when others act on it. The real lie isn't that people do betray, it's that we're surprised when they do. We tell ourselves loyalty is the default, that trust is sacred, that good intentions always win. But history, from ancient wars to modern office politics, shows otherwise. Remember the last time you felt blindsided by someone's actions? Chances are the signs were there. You just didn't want to see them. That's the instinct Thucydides warns us about. The hope that our personal rules of fairness apply to everyone else. They don't. This isn't about becoming cynical or expecting the worst from everyone. It's about seeing clearly. When you accept that betrayal isn't some unnatural violation, but a predictable part of human behavior, you start noticing patterns. The friend who's only loyal when it's convenient. The boss who preaches teamwork, but rewards selfishness. The country that champions peace while stockpiling weapons. None of this is random. It's the natural result of people and nations acting in their own interest. So what do we do with that? First, stop taking it personally. When someone betrays you, it's rarely about you. It's about them, their fears, their needs. That doesn't make it okay, but it does make it easier to understand. Second, adjust your expectations. Loyalty isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn, nurture, and sometimes lose. And third, pay attention to power. Thucydides wasn't just talking about wars between states. He was revealing a truth about all relationships. When the balance shifts, so do loyalties. This cracks open a truth we often ignore. Loyalty isn't the unwavering force we imagine it to be. We start life seeing relationships in simple terms: good or bad, loyal or disloyal. Friends are forever, family is unconditional, and trust is absolute. It's a comforting way to see the world, like a storybook where heroes and villains are clearly marked. But life isn't a storybook, and sooner or later, we stumble into the messy middle where nothing is as straightforward as it seemed. The confusing middle is where things get complicated. You might be someone who resists change at first, clinging to the idea that loyalty should never waver. But then comes the moment when a friend lets you down, a partner breaks a promise, or a colleague takes credit for your work. Suddenly, the black and white world feels blurry. Most of us feel uneasy during transitions like this, caught between what we thought was true and what we're now experiencing. Thucydides, the ancient historian, understood this tension well. He wrote about how fear, self-interest, and shifting circumstances can distort even the strongest alliances. What looks like betrayal might just be human nature reacting to an unpredictable world. This is where the knee-jerk reactions kick in. We want to label people as traitors, cut them off, or retaliate. But Thucydides pointed out a deeper contrast, the difference between reacting out of instinct and responding with thought. Knee-jerk reactions come from that old, simple worldview, the one that says loyalty is all or nothing. Thoughtful responses, though, require us to sit in the discomfort of the middle phase, where we question why someone acted the way they did. You may catch yourself pausing before reacting lately, wondering if there's more to the story. That pause is the first step toward a new clarity. The tough middle phase isn't just about others, it's about us too. Thucydides saw challenges as tests of character, moments that reveal who we really are. When trust is broken, do we double down on rigidity or do we adapt? We start noticing that loyalty isn't a fixed trait, but a choice people make, or don't make, based on their own struggles. Maybe the friend who ghosted you was drowning in their own problems. Maybe the coworker who undermined you was acting out of insecurity. This doesn't excuse hurtful actions, but it helps us see them as part of a bigger, messier picture. The new clarity comes when we realize betrayal isn't some rare, catastrophic event. It's more normal than we think, woven into the fabric of human relationships. We begin to see patterns, how fear, misunderstanding, or unmet needs drive people's actions. This isn't about cynicism, it's about realism. You might even find yourself feeling less shocked when someone lets you down. Not because you expect the worst, but because you understand that everyone is flawed. Through this discomfort, we learn to navigate relationships with more wisdom and less rigidity. We see that loyalty isn't about blind allegiance, but about understanding, forgiveness, and sometimes letting go. And in that shift, we find a deeper kind of strength, one that doesn't crumble at the first sign of betrayal, but adapts, grows, and chooses how to respond. Through this discomfort, we begin to see the cracks in the familiar patterns we've always relied on. It's not that the old ways were wrong exactly, they just don't stretch far enough to cover the new ground we're standing on. At first, it feels like losing balance, like the floor tilting just enough to make us question our footing. But this unease is where the real work begins. It's the signal that we're growing, that our minds are stretching to accommodate something bigger than what we've known before. You might notice it in small ways at first. A conversation that would have irritated you last month now feels easier to navigate. A problem that used to tie you in knots suddenly has a solution that seems obvious. These shifts don't always announce themselves with fanfare. More often, they slip in quietly, like the sun rising without anyone noticing the exact moment the darkness faded. You'll likely find daily decisions coming easier, not because life has gotten simpler, but because you've gotten better at moving through it. This is the Barnum effect in action, the way we start to recognize ourselves in the broad strokes of growth and change. When we hear that many notice old frustrations don't bother them as much, it resonates because it's true, not because some universal law decrees it, but because we've all felt it. The slow-motion realization that what once felt like a mountain is now just a hill. The things that used to cling to us, weighing us down, begin to loosen their grip. It's not that we've become indifferent. We've just learned how to carry them differently. And here's the thing. This isn't some distant, abstract process. It's happening right now, in the choices we make and the way we respond to the world. Together, we discover that growth isn't about becoming someone entirely new. It's about uncovering what was always there, buried under layers of habit and expectation. It's about realizing that the version of ourselves we've been trying to fit into, like a pair of shoes that pinches at the toes, was never meant to be permanent. There's a relief in that, a lightness. Thucydides once wrote about freedom, feeling like finally taking off shoes that never quite fit. That's what this is. The moment we stop forcing ourselves into shapes that don't belong to us. The moment we exhale and let our feet find their natural stride. It's not about running faster or farther. It's about moving in a way that feels right, that feels like ours. This journey isn't linear. Some days, the old frustrations will still creep in. Some moments, we'll forget what we've learned and stumble back into familiar ruts. But that's part of it too. Each time we catch ourselves, each time we choose a different response, we're reinforcing the new paths we're carving. And over time, those paths become roads, and those roads become the way we live. What's beautiful about this process is how it connects us. When we share these small victories, the deep breath instead of the sharp reaction, the patience where there used to be impatience, we're not just improving our own lives, we're creating ripples. The people around us notice. They feel the shift, even if they can't name it. And sometimes, without either of you realizing it, you've given them permission to grow too. That's the power of understanding. It's not something we hoard or keep to ourselves. It's something we live, something we pass on without even trying. And as we do, we start to see the world differently. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now feel like puzzles waiting to be solved. The people who once seemed difficult now seem human, just like us, doing their best with what they have. It's easy to underestimate how much this changes things. But think about the last time you felt truly understood. Think about the last time someone saw you, not the version of you they expected, but the real, messy, complicated you, and accepted you anyway. That's the kind of space we're learning to create, for ourselves and for others. And in that space, everything becomes possible. So here we are, standing on the other side of that initial discomfort. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. The confusion, the uncertainty, the moments of doubt, they were all part of the process. And now, with clearer eyes and a lighter heart, we get to step forward into a world that feels a little more open, a little more forgiving, a little more ours. Together we discover that freedom isn't about escaping something. It's about returning to ourselves. It's about shedding the layers that never fit and finally standing tall in the truth of who we are. And when we do, the world meets us there, not with fanfare, but with quiet recognition, like it's been waiting for us all along. This is the journey, this is the work, and it's never really over. But that's the point, because every step, every moment of understanding is a gift. And the best part, we get to keep unwrapping it, day after day, for the rest of our lives. So take a deep breath, look around. However far you've come, however much you've grown, there's still more ahead. And it's going to be okay. Better than okay. It's going to be yours. Thucydides was right. Freedom does feel like finally taking off shoes that never quite fit. And once you've tasted that lightness, you'll never want to go back. Neither will I. And that's how we move forward, together.